This episode of the Marketing Podcast is brought to you by Neighborhood Domains. Every business needs a domain name, including yours. Visit neighborhooddomains.com and use offer code MARKETING to get 10% off hosting and domain registration.
On this episode, Canadians are more open to invisible payment tech. Rickers launches mobile checkout. Transparency on social media is more important than ever. The ups and downs of subscriptions. And Shell launches in-card payments.
Creativity sells. Applying the right creative at the right time is the recipe for great marketing. The Marketing Podcast looks at marketing news and finds the secret ingredients that make great marketing.
Hi, welcome to the Marketing Podcast. I'm Heather Watson.
And I'm Brendan Quigley.
How you doing today, Brendan?
Good.
Great.
Marvelous.
Fantastic.
Excellent. I'm going to get a thesaurus.
All right, we need better words. Have you bought anything lately?
Yes.
Are you Canadian?
Yes.
Do you like invisible payment technology?
Huh?
That's a good answer. I want to jump in right away and talk about a new survey from Payments Canada, and this is on Strategy Online, that says that more than half of Canadians experience enough friction at the checkout lane that it causes them to rethink their entire purchase. It also states that many Canadians are looking forward to payment tech that addresses that pain point.
You mean like the Amazon store?
Yep.
Like totally invisible?
Yep.
Because I was going to go all over, like I tap my phone all the time.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Credit and debit
Okay.
and cash are still the preferred method of payment for most Canadians, but emerging forms of payment tech are beginning to show higher adoption rates. 19% use that mobile wallet. That's what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And that's up from 13% in last year's survey, with 83% of those using one describing it as convenient. What's more, 70% of those who have a mobile wallet have used it at least once. 33% have deposited a check.
Wait, that means there's how many percent that have never used it but have it?
Right? 33% have deposited a check with their mobile device, which I love doing, with almost 97% of them describing it as convenient. Yeah. Open, check, take a picture, don't go anywhere else.
I've actually got it set up that when I get an e-transfer, it just deposits.
Yes, I've got that now too.
It doesn't even bother.
Yeah, you don't have to accept it or
Yeah.
enter in some wonky password or
Yeah.
something. Roughly 1/3 of Canadians are also interested in the prospect of using social networking apps like WeChat as a payment method. I'm pretty surprised at that one, actually, for a third, because I think a lot of people are still sketchy or less quick to adapt mobile payment that are in these weird, like WeChat.
I think like my experience with WeChat and WhatsApp, I'm blanking and whatnot, is it's often used to communicate with family abroad. Like I know that my relatives over in Ireland are all on a messaging platform, and so it'd be easy to send money back and forth if we were doing that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
That would be my
way,
guess
the only
for the
way.
WeChat. Yeah.
Yeah, so we want to, and we've talked about this before, reducing that friction. And that's kind of what this whole episode is really about, are different ways that businesses are adapting the way of business the way that they're doing business to accommodate consumers' desires and, you know, what do consumers really, really want? And as a Canadian citizen or as a person, I want to be able to enter a store and exit a store without having to search for my wallet or, you know, even carry my wallet. I always have my phone on me, so to be able to tap that really works well for me. Auto stuff that can automatically come out of my bank account or automatically bill to a credit card makes life easier. There's lots of people who talk about the value of time and that it's a commodity that really is so limited. And if, I don't want to spend it standing in line or trying to log into online banking to send an e-transfer or trying to write out a check and get a stamp in an envelope and mail it. So the faster and easier I can pay you, I can. And if as a business, you have the ability to allow people like to prepay or to, tap to pay or whatever that is.
My favorite is the fingerprint to pay. So I don't think it's possible in store on Android yet, but Apple Pay is in stores.
Right.
Where you hit your fingerprint on your phone and then you just got to be nearby. It's still like the phone thing, but it's through Apple Pay.
That's what I use.
Yeah. Is yours a credit card that's linked to Apple Pay? Probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it shows up like I get a separate Apple notification statement that shows this is what I just bought.
What's really good about these services is they actually hide your credit card from the merchant.
Mm-hmm.
So the merchant sees the Apple made up credit card number that gets charged and gives them the money as normal, but your credit card is then hidden in behind like another wall. It's protects your identity.
Yeah, it's certainly that one step further. Now, one of the feedback that a lot of small businesses address around this whole mobile pay and, accepting different forms or going with, like the auto dip where you're like taking money out of somebody's bank account or off somebody's credit card every month for recurring services is there's the fees that are associated with that. But I mean, for me, and I think the consumer journey now or the buyer journey is are they going to buy from you or not? And if everything else is the same, but their payment process is the only differentiating factor and you are the more complicated one in the process, you're not going to get that sale at all. You're going to lose that sale. They may come once, but people are starting to adjust their buying habits based on how easily it is for them to
So I'm looking at you, No Frills, who doesn't accept Visa. At least the one here in town doesn't.
Right.
And we don't go there.
Right.
Because Visa is the card that's attached to our phone, and it is actually a hassle. Okay, who's got the debit card? Do you have cash? Can you go in? So we just don't bother.
Yep.
We go to a store that does accept it.
Yeah. And the mobile buying, like being able to order in advance and pick up on your way home, not necessarily with the grocery store, but with many other, like we've talked about, pizza joints and things like that.
100%.
You know, if I'm ordering it, why not? While I've got my phone in my hand, let me pay for it too. Don't make me take my wallet out or my phone out again to pay for it when I get into the store. Just give me my box and let me walk out the door. So whatever you can do to make that, to reduce that friction is really important.
And I think for a small business, that means you need to have all the payment methods, regardless of the fees. And you need to look at if it really is hurting the bottom line, we got to talk about margins because there's not enough there.
Yeah. Increase your pricing if that's the case.
Yeah.
And figure out how to make that work. And it saves you time at the end of the day too. Because that money is just automatically processing into your bank account as opposed to you having to take a trip to the bank and stand in line yourself with, even though they have that wonderful commercial teller off to the side, it's still relatively lengthy because there's a whole bunch of other people at the commercial teller. So another example of this, and this came off of the Newswire, Rickers, which I've never heard of. It's an American retailer. They've partnered with Skip for mobile checkout. So it's an Indiana-based oil company that operates 58 convenience stores in Indiana, and they're working with Skip to develop what the companies are describing as a hybrid of mobile payment and Amazon Go-like shopper experience in Rickers locations. So Skip says that its technology reduces the length of in-store checkout from an average of 60 seconds to an instant customer-controlled pay-and-go action controlled by the customer. Company also claims the system lowers transaction fees for its retailer partners through a partnership with payments being processed by Zipline. And the companies are working on optimizing the mobile checkout experience, including integrations with Zipline and Rickers Kickback Rewards, which is their loyalty program, and are planning to make it available across all Rickers locations.
So basically, your phone scans the item, and then you pay on your phone and walk out of the store.
I've always wanted this with my groceries.
Gosh, I've always wanted an app that would scan the items, tell you how much your cart costs.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah, and like just build the scanner on the cart, right? Beep. So like as you're putting it in and you've got your reusable bags, you are putting it in the cart. It's being scanned into the bag. And then as you're walking out, it's going to be able to sense whether or not and it just automatically bills. And then the next thing is if it would just bring somebody from the grocery store home from the store to be able to put them all away for me.
I know. How many times do you move like a thing of milk?
Thing of milk. It's in the cart, on the conveyor, back in the cart, into your vehicle, and then back into your home. House. And usually then you're taking it apart and putting it in the fridge.
Exactly.
And it's like, why do we have to have this conveyor system? Like, just let me drop it in my cart and automatically charge what's on my phone if I take it out of the cart because I find I've spent too much, or I decided I didn't want that bag of milk after all, or whatever the case may be. Then it de-scans it. And the moment I walk out the door,
it charges you.
It charges me.
And so I think that's the goal, except instead of on the cart, it's in an app.
It's in an app, and of course, much smaller in scale. I mean, we're talking convenience store and gas items, so we're not talking hundreds of dollars of groceries. We're talking lottery tickets.
Still work. I think it would still work.
Yeah, it's really cool, and I would totally I would not drive to Indiana, but I would definitely shift.
If I was in Indiana, I would.
Definitely shift my shopping patterns for this.
Yep.
Just to not have to and really the funny thing is it's to save 60 seconds. Normally transactions at the cash register, and I think about any gas station I've walked into to pick up a bottle of water or a newspaper in addition to purchasing gas, it is a 60-second transaction. You're in there, in and out in a heartbeat, and yet they're still seeing the value in investing in this automation because now, well, what's next? They don't even need an employee standing at the store, right? Is really what it comes down to. So that's really cool. What else do customers want?
Gummy bears.
Gummy bears again. They want transparency on social media. Do you want transparency?
Yes. I want to know all of the creepy ways that I'm being tracked, and then I want to accept all those creepy things and continue using social media. But that's me.
So this came out of Sprout Social, which is a social media publishing third-party software company. And they're able to take a lot of the data that they get from all of their users to be able to provide all kinds of really great metrics on how people are using social media. So they did a survey which revealed that 86% of consumers think that transparency from businesses is more important than ever. And 40% attribute the importance to the influence of social media. So only 15% of respondents think that brands are currently, quote, very transparent on social.
That makes sense, though.
Only 15%.
I know, but do you like those are the ones who think brands are transparent? Like you see any advertisement, you kind of know, well, the burger doesn't look like that, or the shoe is good, but is it that good? Like even when Apple's like all day battery life, you're like, well, that was controlled in your lab, and you know what I mean? Like, so we all have a skepticism.
Sure. I think it's interesting to define transparency. And the study goes on to show that 1/3 of respondents would purchase more from brands if their CEO demonstrates transparency on social media. 63% said CEOs with their own profiles are better representations of companies, as opposed to the marketers who have dressed up the products and services, right? Is really what it comes down to. 70% of millennials want CEOs to have a personal profile on socials, and millennials say social media is the top communication channel where they want brands to be transparent. And that's, I think about the Twitter, the rise of Twitter was being able to directly message somebody and feel like you're not on hold, you're not talking to some operator, you are talking to somebody who can fix this presently. Right? May have been just a customer service person or somebody with no authority or limited authority, but like you want to be able to direct message or mention somebody and get results.
You know what? This is true because I'm more likely to follow, and I always get his name wrong, but Sungcloud, whatever his name is. I'm sorry, Picard, or I forget I can't pronounce it. I can see the spelling, but he's the CEO for the Android world, right? So I'm more likely to follow him than Android at
corporate
Android. Yeah.
Verified account.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I want to see what he's saying. And similarly, there's a whole bunch of like Google developers that I'm more likely to follow than the Google account. And Elon Musk. Like I don't follow Tesla, I follow Elon. And the list just keeps going. So I can see how this is super important, and I can also see how this builds that culture of transparency, right? Like if your CEO is tweeting directly or Instagramming directly or speaking directly with the community, there is that sense of like a direct connection, and that's what people value. They don't necessarily value the, at Kudo, which is the phone company's main Twitter handle. They appreciate knowing who they're talking to. I bring them up because they happen to have a really good Twitter support desk. And I think that's the right way to use those generic, like Kudo helps as like the support channel. And that's when multiple people jump in. But I do think it's super important to have at least someone in your business have their own social that they're speaking from. Yeah. To build the
voice of the business. Yeah. Now, the good news is 9 in 10 consumers say that they are more willing to give brands a second chance after a bad experience. And 85% say that they will stick with brands during a crisis when they are more transparent overall. So, being forthcoming and forward when there is a crisis to say, oops, we messed up. I mean, we talked about this with Starbucks once.
Samsung kind of did that when their phones exploded.
Yeah. Yeah.
They did a pretty good job there.
Yeah. And people have more trust. They're more willing to forgive and move on, as opposed to trying to hide it. If you're lacking that transparency, people are less than forgiving. And social media is that place. Like, you're exposed. No matter how contrived you try to be on social media, you're exposed because people are talking about you, and you're exposed by their comments because they're publicly shouting about bad experiences potentially. So if you are more forthright talking about, bad things happen, you have good days, you have bad days. As a small business, you make mistakes but you're dealing with it. It's better to share those stories than people see those stories from third parties that you can't respond to them.
And you'll be rewarded ultimately for being honest and being yourself. Like, people like stories, people like personalities, and people like talking directly. So just being yourself in many cases is going to be the reward.
Yep. Yeah. So that's transparency. You know what else people want?
I'm going to say it again.
Gummy bears?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Do your gummy bears come on a subscription service?
Now we're talking.
We could have them delivered right to the studio.
There you go.
Every week. Subscriptions are good things and bad things. There's pros and cons. People like them, people hate them. Let's talk about that.
I think this is super interesting because I feel like there's a large group of people out there who avoid subscriptions.
I do.
You do. Now, what's your mortgage?
What's my mortgage?
As in, it's a subscription.
It is.
What's your hydro bill? It's a subscription. What's your cell phone bill? Subscription. What's your gas?
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise, subscription. What's your food? Oh, surprise, surprise.
Okay. So, no. Here's the deal, though. I like subscriptions. I like if I can automate my world. As I said earlier on, if I don't have to, the cleaning lady, if I don't have to worry about, she comes as often as she comes and I have to worry about paying her, it just happens, then I'm happy about that and making my life easier. So I do like subscriptions in that way. But I find that subscriptions, tend to get you with that intro box. And then you're hooked in you can cancel any time, but it's often hard to cancel because you forget or you don't have the time or whatever the case may be. And it really, these little $10 or $20, Spotify is $15 a month or whatever, just whittles away and you don't realize it until all of a sudden, in addition to your normal living expenses like fuel for your car,
which is a subscription,
and your car insurance
subscription, and
your mortgage and your hydro. I understand.
Yeah.
But next thing you know, you're probably paying the value of a mortgage in little $15 hits or $20 hits.
Which is true. And that's budgeting.
That is budgeting.
As in, I think people don't compare subscriptions to the bills that they already have to pay on a monthly basis. And they feel like subscriptions are bad for some reason. And that's the reason I'm saying that is because we've dealt with clients who have subscription businesses, and this is the little battle that they face. They want to provide a one-time purchase opportunity for people to try their product instead of just get into the subscription and cancel the subscription. And I think part of it, you talked about it, is that it's so easy to sign up because of technology. It's a lot harder to unsign up, if that makes sense, to cancel, to unsubscribe. And so I think...
And that's been going on since before we had internet subscriptions. I mean, when I had my Columbia House album subscriptions, it was impossible. You had to actually give them 30 days notice by letter.
Yeah.
Like I would have to... mail them a letter and reference my membership number, which I could never find when I wanted to cancel. And the same thing I think about my car insurance. We just got our car insurance renewal in the mail. And every time I get it, I think to myself, we really should shop this around because we haven't shopped it around in a while. Have I shopped it around yet? No, because I don't even like the process of doing that. Right.
Yep.
So it is hard to cancel. It is hard to break those habits. But there's some cool stats in this.
I was going to say, we can look at the stats. I think the ultimate takeaway is if you are providing a subscription, also provide a cancellation.
Yes.
And then suddenly the friction will be...
And the cancellation, I have found, doesn't even have to be a cancellation. It could just be a pause.
Yes.
And it seems less scary to the person.
Dollar Shave Club does are you receiving too many razors? So they'll take They'll take your 12-month subscription.
Okay, wait. The bearded man knows something about Dollar Shave Club?
I bought a subscription for my father-in-law for Christmas. So
Awesome.
There you go. But they'll let you lengthen it out, like only get razors every 2 months. Or they'll let you pause for a little bit.
Yeah,
like
or skip a month or
skip
whatever.
A month. Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about allowing pause is it still keeps the customer in your marketing channel. It's still like, when you're pushing out, hey, it's been 3 months. Do you want some more razors or whatever it is that you're selling? And you can really kind of track that too. Some of the other cool points out of this, just interesting. The average American consumer household has nearly 4 subscriptions. A quarter of them have more subscriptions than they did 6 months ago. So it's still growing. And I kind of thought the subscription thing was almost like, been there, seen it, done it. But it's still growing. And renewal rates are at a whopping 85%. So kind of contrary. Rounding out the most popular subscriptions are warehouse and club, fitness, food. Other popular categories include beauty, grooming, pet products, clothing, meal kits.
Music isn't in there. I would have thought that would be number one.
Yeah, like with Spotify and those guys. Yeah, iTunes. Growth appears to be found in the next 6 months with, again, the food or the warehouse or clubs. So like the wine clubs.
And I think like the boxes, like you can get like a nerd box sent to your house every month.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Fitness, again, is growing. Food is growing. I mean, food, going back to the whole grocery cart thing. If I don't even have to go to the store, life is good. Clothing, I don't know so much, but I know people who are in that space, and the seasonal clothing buyer would be one there.
I could get put on socks. That'd work for me.
Yeah, I've seen sock kits.
Subscription.
Sock subscriptions. Beverages and meal kits. So those are kind of the areas of growth. And ultimately people do cancel them, because hopefully they've got enough socks in their drawer.
No, I destroy socks. That's why I could get on a sock subscription.
Okay. There you go. Weirdo. Weird. But hey, you're saving on razors, so.
Hey.
So that's the whole subscription thing. And we were talking about gas earlier and gas stations and how fuel is a subscription. This came off of straight out of the newswire from a Shell Oil Company media release last month. Shell and General Motors are delivering nationwide in-dash fuel payments.
This makes so much sense to me.
I love this.
So much.
I'm a Shell customer too. I buy Shell gas.
I mean, I guess in the States the tap isn't as popular, right? Like they don't have we can tap our phone at anywhere.
Yeah.
Where it's not as
readily the banking, because everybody's using. I mean, Apple Pay works.
So it's coming. But one of the things I don't like is that I can't pump gas and tap my phone. I got to go in to tap my phone.
I just swipe my credit card.
See, I don't have my credit card on me. See?
See, and for me, I put my credit card. Actually, I literally got gas earlier today, and I put my credit card while I'm standing at the pump. After I swipe it, I don't want to go and put it back in my wallet, so I put it in the bum pocket of my jeans.
Yep.
And then I lose it because 2 days later I go looking for it, and it's either in the laundry.
Every time you walk by like a coffee shop, you get charged $10.
Yeah, that's right. Buying stuff just by walking.
But what I really like is like there's so many things you buy from the window of your car. If you think fast food, drive-throughs, car washes, gas. I'm trying to think the other stuff that you like drive by and go and purchase. Beer. Yeah, there's the drive-through beer. It's like, why, if it's in my phone, if it's in my watch, if it's on tap on a piece of plastic why can't my car just talk to the gas station?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so this is a GM partnership, and we talked about a similar one earlier this spring. I think it was like episode 38 or something like that, where it was Hyundai and another brand that was doing something with their infotainment system. This is basically customers who are fueling their Chevy, Buick, GM, Cadillac vehicles at Shell stations can use Shell Pay and Save within the GM marketplace to pay for their fuel directly from their vehicle's infotainment screen and earn and redeem fuel rewards savings in the process. You can tell that a company marketing executive wrote this media release. What does all of that mean? So basically, they're going to be incentivizing people who sign up with a one-time discount of 25 cents a gallon. It's in the United States on fueling, and you're going to get that discount, and it's going to be fast, and it's embedded in the dash, and life is good. So
I just want to buy donuts with my car. Like, that's all I want.
okay.
Roll through a Tim Hortons. They just hand me the food, and it just gets charged. I drive
Okay.
away.
And it's done.
I'm always like passing things around and getting my phone out and trying to pay. And
Yeah, that's true.
there's like now they're pretty good at the
Clearing
system,
out
but
the cup holder.
this is it. Throwing
finding
garbage in the
change.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a mess. So, first world problems have been solved today. We really just want to spend our money quickly and easily and not have to worry about the process of buying. Just take our money. That should be the title of today's show. Just take my money.
Right.
And the easier you can make it for customers to give you their money, the more time you're saving them, the more they're going to want to do business with you, and life is good for everyone. Speaking of good life, thank you everybody for listening to us. This is the
This is 52.
52nd episode, and I'm pretty sure there are 52 weeks in a year, and Brendan doesn't have enough fingers and toes to count that far, but we have been at this every week for a whole year, and we really love that you've been along with us for the ride, whether you're a new listener or one from the beginning. Thank you so much for listening to us, and check us out at themarketingpodcast.ca. For The Marketing Podcast, I'm Heather Watson.
And I'm Brendan Quigley.
Thanks for listening.